Gosh, I started singing really, really early, and so if I think back, I remember my first school talent show. I went to a Catholic school, and we all had uniforms and whatnot, so talent show was a really big deal because you could actually wear what you wanted and do whatever you wanted. And I remember doing, there was one year when I did Crazy from Patsy Cline, and then totally opposite end of the spectrum. The next year I did a Mariah Carey song, Dream Lover, Come Rescue Me. So that was probably my first public performance, but I was always a ham around the house and singing at family functions. So the first record I ever bought, I remember going to the mall with my mom, and we got a Beatles compilation on vinyl, Beatles Love Songs, because it had Michelle on it, and they wanted to play the song I was named after. The Beatles, hands down, were such a huge influence in my life, because growing up, I knew that at a young age I started listening to them because of the song Michelle, and I remember just listening to those records from start to finish, and I was obsessed with them. And then as I got older, started going to like slumber parties and whatnot, everyone would bring out their music, and I'd be like, here's the Beatles, and here's Patsy Cline, and here's Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons. And they're like, this girl is so weird. So I never had the same musical taste as my peers per se, but I listened to the same records that my parents did. The first concert I ever attended, I don't even know if you guys are going to know who this is. I was 5 years old, and there was a band called the Jets, and they were a family band, and they were playing at the Arizona State Fair. And my parents took me, and the whole time I complained that it was too loud, and my ears, I felt like my ears hurt for like a week after, but it was really exciting, and I can't name one song that they sang, but I went to that show and I remember it. If you had asked me a few years ago what the greatest influence in my life would be, I might not have known how to answer that question, but now I'm a mother, and I have a 4-year-old daughter, and that has changed my life from top to bottom in so many ways. And I think that when you have a kid, it makes you really dig down deep and find what you believe in and what's important to you and what your values are. And never had really thought about it that much until I had this little person to take care of. And so she's just completely changed my life in the best of ways. My greatest possession is my family. I don't have a thing. I mean, I have vintage guitars that I love, and I'd be really upset if something happened to them. But honestly, if there was like a fire and my house burned down, I'd just be happy if everyone in my family was okay. I have such a guitar collecting problem, but I see it as it's just like collecting art, because a lot of the guitars I have are actually vintage guitars, and so hopefully one day if I'm a starving artist I can sell them for food. I started collecting them pretty early on when I first started getting paid. That was like my big splurge. My first big splurge was a 1968 Gibson Hummingbird that I wish I could take everywhere with me, but I'm afraid to travel with it. So Gibson was so cool, and they took it and they scanned it with this computer thing and actually made replicas of them. So I feel like I have my vintage guitars out, but I don't have to worry about them getting ruined. I would wait in line to see the Beatles back in the day. They were just such a huge part of my life that I don't know what I would do if I saw them, but it's been interesting. Paul McCartney and I have been kind of missing each other ever since I started making records. When I was in the studio making my first album, he was in the same studio, and the one day I left for lunch, I came back and everyone's crying, like sitting there going, oh my God, you just missed Paul. Second record, he's in there, I miss him again. And then this album I was recording in New York, and his son was making an album downstairs, and I missed him by a day. And it's just like, now I don't know if I really want to meet him or not, or just keep up this charade of missing him by moments. I never had a lunchbox because, as I said earlier, I went to Catholic school, and I had hot lunch, and it was pretty gross. My mom, and when on the rare occasion my mom would pack us a lunch, it would be a brown paper bag, and I'd get so mad because all the other kids had cool lunch boxes and juice boxes and fruit snacks, and I had like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. The most memorable gift given to me is a buffalo head that was given to me by Ted Nugent. My brother works in his road crew, and started talking, and my brother was saying that I was looking for one, and Ted went into his barn and took one off his wall, and it's one that he shot with a bow and arrow himself in the late 60s, and we named him General, and it's hanging on our wall.